John Cameron with you through till 2. Chris Hartnell from Hartnell Coolheat is with me in the studio. Just been having a fascinating chat with Chris. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, John. Thank you for inviting us in.
Lovely to see you. In fact, you're a very loyal Compass FM advertiser. I think you've been advertising with us almost from the day we first went on air.
That's right. No, it's been a good relationship, John, and we appreciate your support. So we're happy to support the station and the people in North Canterbury.
Well, we appreciate you very much, Chris. And you've been in business now 42 years?
42 years, John. It'll be 43 this November. So it's been a long time.
Yeah.
We've certainly been around this part of the world a very long time.
Well, you've seen a few changes over the years, that's for sure, with heat pumps and that sort of thing. I think at one stage you had more than 50 on staff.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, which has come down a little bit now. But we're going to be talking heat pumps. The first question to ask you is whether or not we should be leaving our heat pumps on 24/7. We've had a bit of a debate around this the last couple of days, and I found a Consumer New Zealand report recently saying you don't have to. But I want one says you do, one says you don't. I want to hear from Chris Hartnell, who's been in this game for 42 years. Do we leave them on 24/7?
I read that consumer report, and yes, it's obviously been written by a North Island operation. Look, down here, I recommend you leave them on. Now, when I say leave them on, I don't mean you leave them on at 25, 30 degrees. If you're going out, turn them down to 17, 18, so you keep the chill off the house. When you then come home, you find that once you increase the temperature, within half an hour, the house is back up to temperature again. What you've got to realise, John, you spend a lot of heat, a lot of power heating your home. So you get this house nice and warm, you've got it at 21, 22 degrees, and then you turn it off. And depending upon how well your house is insulated, whether your glazing's double glazed or even triple glazed, just how well the thermal envelope of the house contains that heat, you might lose all that heat that you paid for. And you come back home and then you turn it on and the thing's got to work like fury to bring the temperature up again. So my philosophy has always been don't turn off, turn down. Certainly overnight you want to leave that heat pump on. You want the room at a minimum of 18 degrees, otherwise we start to get bronchial issues and cold air breathing, that sort of thing. So my philosophy, and this is a South Island philosophy, I'm sure you can do things differently in the North Island, but when you're only 25% of the population, what happens in the South Island doesn't tend to get recognised up north. So I think the consumer article was for the greater population of New Zealand, as opposed to...
It was written by an Aucklander.
Exactly. Well, it doesn't get that cold up here, and they're probably right. But our houses are a bit different down here. And I know in the UK, I've spent some time over there, you find that they heat their homes continually the whole year round. They don't go turning equipment on and off. No different with your hot water cylinder. You don't go turning that off. You build up that inertia in the tank with all that heat that you've got in there. It's a lot easier to keep topping it up, particularly with these inverter heat pumps now, which as the room temperature comes up, they throttle their speed down and only work at a fraction of the full load capacity that they need to. So you are actually saving energy in that sense. Whereas if you don't, you're going to have to crank it up to full speed, use more power to achieve that. So short answer, this part of the world, leave them on, but turn them down.
Yep, it's quite a science actually, as you were explaining off air. I would imagine you get your room nice and toasty. I guess your carpet, your furniture, even the walls, the curtains or whatever, they become warm, don't they?
They do, yeah. And that's what I mean. You build up inertia as you do in a hot water cylinder, and that water, you build up this big storage vessel, if you like. So when you touch your desk or any bit of equipment in the room, you can find it's warm to the touch, as opposed to if it's been off for some time, you find it's quite cold. Yep. But they radiate heat back out, so they all absorb heat and help hold that temperature in the room.
Yep. Let's have a look at looking after our heat pumps now. The average heat pump should last how long?
This is always a debatable one too, John, because we find that we can get some that are just out of their 5-6 year warranty and they fail. Generally, once you get to 10 years, you can expect, you should at least achieve 10 years.
Yeah.
Properly sized, well maintained. By that I mean you're cleaning your filters regularly, you're making sure the outdoor unit's not rusting, you're giving it a wipe down, treat it as you would a car.
Yep.
You wipe the exterior of a car, you do the same with the heat pump. The condenser coils outside are clean of debris, that sort of stuff. If you do that, just do basic maintenance, which the home handy person can do. It's not rocket science. Then 10, 15 years, no problem. We're replacing heat pumps in a number of cases that have done 20 years. And that's often because we can't just get the new refrigerant gas. They might have developed a gas leak, but we're onto these new ozone-friendly global warming gases that we have to now start to use to reduce the effect of the global warming effects that we're now going to face in the next 5 or 6 years. So from that point of view, 10 to 15 years should be easily achievable.
Yeah, and as you say, we can all do our own basic maintenance, but you see people advertising for, we come and clean your heat pump. Is that something a bit deeper than what we would do ourselves?
That's a good point. Yes, so all the average layperson should do, or is probably only able to do, is clean the filter itself.
Yeah, just vacuum those.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What you can also do when that filter's out, when you've opened your indoor unit, you're looking at what you call the radiator. It looks like a radiator in a car. Of course, the unit's turned off. If you get a vacuum cleaner with a soft brush on it,
yep,
gently clean those grills on the coil itself. That's once you've removed the filter.
Yep.
That also helps the heat exchanger not clog up. So the people that are offering those heat pump cleans and so on, what happens is over time the heat exchanger behind the filter builds up debris. But certainly within 10 years you'll find that there's a lot of gunk in there. Even though you've done your filter and you might have done it religiously and done everything spot on, the filters they don't stop everything. So you have this problem where you've got to get in and clean the actual unit. So yes, a heat pump clean, as long as they're doing it properly, they've got sprays that they spray into the coil that releases all the gunk that's in there,
yep,
and then wash it out down the drain. Yes, they're definitely worth doing. It's not something you'd need to do every year. That would be, and it depends how well you clean your filter over that period of time. If you're regularly cleaning your filter, then you probably don't need to have the full flush and clean of the heat pump more than 5, 6, 7 years, I would suggest.
Yep. Just quickly, what should we be listening for? I mean, I know with our heat pump it's starting to make some weird noises. That worries me.
Yep. You get noises tend to come in winter when the plants are defrosting. They do make a bit of a hiss and a roar, and you often see steam or smoke, some people have reported, coming out of their outdoor unit. That's when it's doing its defrost. That is quite typical in winter, particularly on frosty days. After 8-9 years, you could expect bearings to start to pack up. Again, if you're not keeping your filter clean, the debris gets into the bearings, causes all sorts of problems there. So I would suggest that some of those units probably are creating a bit of a bearing noise. The fan blades can get out of balance because they get dust and debris on them, again because the filter's not cleaned. You can see there's one overriding thing here. Keep your filter clean and you will get quite a bit of longevity out of your heat pump.
And it's not difficult to do.
It's not.
Flip the lid up.
It is.
Take them out and give them a good vacuum.
People just forget about it. And they are great vacuum cleaners. You see that when you open them up and see the grot build up.
Yeah,
absolutely. In the filter.
It's quite frightening sometimes, actually. Yeah. Just last question. What ideally, what temperature should we sort of, a nice ambient temperature? And the heat pump's doing its work most efficiently.
Yeah, look, generally most people are happy, and it depends what time of day it is. For example, when you come out in the morning, generally you don't need quite as warm a temperature, and you'll often find 18, 19 is quite satisfactory. During the day when you're moving around, probably 20, 21 maybe, and of an evening you'll find the body starts to wind down and you'll notice, why do I feel colder now? But that's because physiologically we are getting ready to go to bed and our body's preparing us for sleep. So you often find that you're a bit colder at night and you probably do want to crank that up to maybe 22, 23. So in answer to your question, a temperature typically between 21 to 23 is pretty well right for most homes that are reasonably well insulated and don't have any issues with drafts and that sort of thing.
Yes. All right, Chris Hartnell from Hartnell Coolheat, the experts when it comes to heat pumps, been here for over 40 years. Where do we find you for those that don't know, Chris?
Okay, well, look, we're still coming out to the North Canterbury area. We, during COVID, had to close the Rangiora office, unfortunately, but that was just the sign of the times. But we still have a presence out here, and you can reach us on 313-8014, 313-8014, or www.hartnell.co.nz will also get us, and we're happy to look after you.
Really appreciate you popping in today, Chris, and your support for Compass FM as well. It's so much appreciated.
Compass FM.